So Dennis writes, a lack of answers could soon lead to the latest organizational reckoning in A.J. Preller's 9-year tenure as general manager. There has been widespread speculation that Melvin, who has a year left on his contract, will either voluntarily leave the organization or be fired after the season.
Mother.
Team officials have acknowledged that the Padres' payroll, currently at a franchise record $255 million, likely will be pared down in 2024. Lot to unpack in one little paragraph.
More like
there.
a lot to choke on if you're a Padres fan. At least this Padre fan, certainly. My man Will Holder, I love it. He's very active on Twitter. He's a tier one of the show. Sent us some great coffee. Will, thank you for that, by the way. Great merch. What's his name?
Visitor. Visitor coffee.
Visitor.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I had some this weekend.
It's really, really tasty. Will is a great dude, and Will tweeted immediately right after I sent it out. What does that say about your organization if Bob Melvin voluntarily walks away after 2 years? And that hit home with me. And by the way, you guys know that there are 30 of these jobs. 30. And if a guy says, I know I've got a year left on my deal, this sucks. I'm out. My health or my whatever, my peace of mind, my ability to do my job is being... I'm not able to do it here, so I'm going to walk away.
I think it's voluntarily walking away because if you don't, we're going to make the decision for you sort of situation that everyone can kind of walk away with a little more self-respect if it's a quote-unquote retirement or stepping back for Bob Melvin as opposed to he just gets the axe like, no, I want to stay. And the Padres go, no, you're not going to stay.
But the funny thing is, man, is the tone has changed. We asked Bob Melvin this question. The last time we spoke with him, which was probably 6 weeks ago, maybe even longer, I asked him straight up, do you feel like you're managing for your job? And he said, I've got a year left on my contract. I'm coming back. And now the widespread speculation is that he's going to, in my opinion, if he walks away, that, again, screams dysfunction to me. It just does. Now, I know the last few months have been rough on him, certainly, but here it is.
Well, I have one more year left in my contract.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to finish out what I started.
Boom.
Less someone else telling me not to.
Boom. Right.
So, it's just where I am, but I'm not even focused on that at all. I don't worry about, more years or anything like that. We're just,
I bet not.
Like you said, we're getting through a slog of a season that there's still something left to be accomplished with a really good team. So that's where my focus is on today's game against Milwaukee.
That was August 25th,
okay.
1 month ago.
So that was 1 month ago. It was 4 weeks ago.
Lots changed.
And now there's widespread speculation that he's
the Padres
like,
have
I'm
played
out.
their best baseball of the season since then, essentially.
No doubt. There's no question.
And we talked about it last week. We actually have recent examples of teams quitting on their manager, the manager losing the clubhouse.
100%.
That did not happen this year.
It did not happen, man. They didn't win every game, that's for sure. But, I shudder to think how bad it could have been.
I still get a lot. I mean, you and I are, and Paulie, I think for the most part, are Bob Melvin supporters. I do think he's a good manager, and I do think it would be very hard to find someone better out there than Bob Melvin. I still have a ton of people on my timeline. Anytime I defend Bob Melvin that insist he is the problem with the San Diego Padres and nothing that a change of manager couldn't fix for next season. I think that one of the, and we've talked about this, one of the real struggles for the Padres has been that lack of consistency. And I shudder to think of having to go to another spring training with another manager, with another personality and another philosophy that players then have to get used to. I mean, how many times do we go, when Jace Tingler arrived, it's going to take a little while for, the team to get used to and for Jace to settle in because he hasn't done this before. But we feel like after, a few months, we'll be ready to rock and roll. Then Bob Melvin got here and he got hamstrung by the lockout and didn't get a chance. But, hey, give him a chance. And a few months, players will get comfortable with him. And
boy, they did.
By the end of the season, the first season, they started playing the best baseball in September and into October. And now we're going to just do it all over again with a new personality, and they're going to come in, and we're going to say, give them some adjustment time, some adjustment period. You can't operate a franchise in a constant period of adjustment, for an 8-year period. Well, let's just keep adjusting to the new guy. At some point, you got to ride with the person you hired and the person who is managing. Now, Did Bob Melvin make some mistakes this year? Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. Does every manager make mistakes? Does every good coach? We're going to talk about some of the college football and pro football coaches that made mistakes. Yes, they're all going to make some mistakes. Doesn't mean that they're bad coaches or that they deserve to be fired instantly.
Well, my favorite part, though, is while we're here openly shilling for Bob Melvin, many will say, well, listen, you're the Padres flagship. You need to shill for Bob Melvin. I would argue, think about this for a moment. If the Padres are looking to get rid of Bob Melvin, shouldn't we then be in support of them getting rid of Bob Melvin if we are shills? I think if you get rid of Bob Melvin, you blew it. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think they'd probably, if that really is the way they're thinking, they'd be hoping we'd be laying the groundwork
to fire Bob Melvin.
Yeah, this is probably a good idea. The Padres need to move on. This is the smart thing to do.
Check your emails, by the way. I got the talking points.
Yeah.
Bob Melvin sucks.
But yeah,
Bob Melvin
I can't in good conscience. I can't blame Bob Melvin for this season.
I won't.
I can blame him for some mistakes, but when it comes to the decisions, Saturday in particular, why wasn't Campusano bunting in the 10th inning to move the runner over to win the game? And they, a lot of people thought that's a complete indictment on Bob Melvin and his inability to manage a baseball game. I don't see it that way. It's not cut and dried. I mean, can Campusano get a bunt down
I don't know.
in that situation? If you get the guy over to third, do you trust the next guy to be able to lift a fly ball? Or, the Padres have been bad at a lot of those things. And is that on coaching or is that on the players? But that is not a situation they've thrived in. Campusano has thrived lately in what? Driving in runners with
Correct.
base hits. I mean, he's hitting 320 right now, I think. And you've got a chance to win the game right there. You take the bat out of that guy's hand, one of your hottest, most clutch hitters right now, and you take the bat out of his hand to bunt. Is that the smart thing to do? I don't know. I mean, you don't have a crystal ball in those situations. You look at all the factors, and then you make the best decision you can as a manager. And in that case, I think that's a defensible decision. I got Campy up. He's come through in the clutch recently for us. He's
mad hitterish.
He's got our best batting average right now, and you're telling me I want you to make an out. Right now, I want you to go up there and make an out
Give an
in
out
this
away.
situation.
Give an out away to an offense that was 1 for 17 with runners in scoring position that night. Listen, at some point, and again, I'm fine with a bunt in the right situation, but it's got to be the right personnel. It's got to be the right personnel behind him. It's just the bunting thing that everyone acts like will solve all of this team's problems. Giving away outs will not solve a team's problem in the long run. It just won't.
It'll work every once in a while.
Which is why the Atlanta Braves, the best team in baseball, have not sacrificed bunted one time this year. That was at least like 3 weeks ago. They have 0 sacrifice bunts. Why? Because their guys can hit. They know how to barrel baseballs, and they know how to do it situationally. We do not this year. We have not. We have now tied the record for extra inning futility with the 1969 Montreal Expos. We still have a week to break that record. I think we can do it.
Come on.
I think we can do it. But yeah, I mean, the extra inning thing is as confounding as ever because, again, we've made the point over and over. Bob Melvin last season was the best in extra inning games. Was it Bob Melvin? Was it the players? Was it execution? Did he forget how to manage in extra innings? No. Skip Schumacher this year has been the best in one run games in his debut. Do you think Skip looks in the mirror and he's like, I'm the world's greatest manager? No one's a better close game manager than me. No, he realized they got a couple out of the way early, which was so huge, he said. And his guys find a way to win, though. So, again, bunting is fine. It's fine. But giving away outs is not a really good recipe for long-term success, in my opinion.